that Netanyahu's actually privately been funding some of the push through the rabbis around this conversation of building a third temple. But he certainly extended. And he said that you can...
The Temple Mount is in our hands. We are in Jerusalem and we are here to stay.
That very soon we will all see the building of the third temple in Jerusalem.
For 2,000 years, it was just a prophecy. Today, that's changing. 10 specific preparations for the third temple have been completed. Preparations that biblical scholars once said were impossible. By the time we get to number 1, you're going to understand why this isn't just a religious story. This is a geopolitical earthquake waiting to happen. Because 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4 says the Antichrist will sit in God's temple. Before he can sit, the temple must be built, and everything needed is almost ready. Before we count down these shocking temple preparations, hit that subscribe button right now. You won't want to miss what's happening prophetically in Jerusalem right before our eyes. Preparation number 10, political momentum building. For decades after 1967, only a handful of Jews could ascend the Temple Mount, and they weren't allowed to pray. Today, over 50,000 Jews ascend the Temple Mount annually. They're now allowed to openly pray, sing, and prostrate themselves in worship. Preparation number 9, crimson dye rediscovered. For 2,000 years, nobody knew how to produce the exact crimson dye mentioned in the Bible. Professor Zohar Amar found it. This isn't decorative, it's essential for the high priest's garments and the red heifer purification mixture. Preparation number 8, Levitical choir established. The Temple Institute's Levitical choir now performs the exact musical traditions that accompanied ancient temple sacrifices. Last year, they performed at the Temple Mount's southern wall for the first time in 2 millennia. But we're just getting started. The top 7 preparations will shock you, because Daniel 8:14 declares, "Then shall the sanctuary be cleansed." Every item being prepared, every person being trained, every ritual being practiced, all of it points to one inevitable conclusion. The sanctuary they're preparing to cleanse is the third temple. The Bible is crystal clear about the third temple's prophetic significance. 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4 warns, "Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first, and the man of sin is revealed, who sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." The Antichrist will sit in God's temple, not a metaphorical temple, the physical third temple in Jerusalem. But Revelation 11:1-2 gives us the timeline. "Rise and measure the temple of God, the altar, and those who worship there. But leave out the court which is outside the temple, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the Gentiles." The temple will be measured, built, and functioning before the end times reach their climax. Numbers 19:9 reveals why these preparations matter. "For an unclean person, they shall take of the ashes of the burnt heifer of purification for sin." Without proper purification, temple service cannot begin. Every preparation we're witnessing fulfills specific biblical requirements for temple service. This isn't archaeology. This is end times prophecy materializing before our eyes. Preparation number 7, Sanhedrin chamber designed. This is the assembly hall for the modern Sanhedrin, the supreme religious authority that will govern the third temple. But here's what's incredible. It's not theoretical. The Sanhedrin has already been reconstituted. They're meeting right now, actively planning for temple operations. Preparation number 6, altar stones collected. In 2010, Temple Institute representatives went to the Dead Sea to collect stones that have never been touched by metal tools, exactly as Deuteronomy 27:5 requires. These are the stones that will form the altar of the temple. Preparation number 5, high priest garments ready. Complete garments took over a decade to create. The breastplate contains 12 authentic precious stones, real sapphires, emeralds, diamonds. Each stone is engraved with a tribe of Israel's name. The gold work alone required 2 years. Preparation number 4, architectural blueprints complete. These aren't conceptual drawings. These are operational blueprints created to modern building codes.
incorporating electrical systems, plumbing, and ventilation. A 1 to 50th scale model exists that you can visit in Jerusalem right now. To understand why these preparations matter, you need to grasp what was lost in 70 AD. When Roman legions destroyed the Second Temple, they didn't just demolish a building. They severed the connection between God and his people that had existed for over 1,000 years. Daily sacrifices ceased, the priesthood scattered, sacred vessels were melted down, ancient rituals were forgotten. For nearly 2,000 years, religious Jews have prayed 3 times daily. May it be your will that the temple be speedily rebuilt in our days. It seemed impossible. Then 1967 changed everything. Israeli paratroopers captured the Temple Mount for the first time since the Roman destruction. Suddenly, the impossible seemed possible. That's when the quiet work began. In 1987, Rabbi Yisrael Ariel founded the Temple Institute with one audacious goal: prepare everything needed for the Third Temple so that when the time comes, construction can begin immediately. The work started with painstaking research. Ancient texts were studied, archaeological evidence was analyzed. Every detail of temple service had to be reconstructed from fragmentary sources. Then came the craftsmanship phase. Master goldsmiths and textile artists were commissioned to recreate sacred vessels. Each item required months or years of research and construction. But here's what makes this prophetically explosive rather than just religiously interesting. The timeline is accelerating dramatically. What took decades to prepare is now ready for implementation. Political support is growing. Jewish access to the Temple Mount has expanded exponentially since 1967. The pieces are falling into place with supernatural precision. Ancient prophecies about temple restoration are converging with modern capabilities to fulfill them. This isn't coincidence. It's providence. Everything needed for immediate temple construction and service is almost ready. But the top 3 preparations will absolutely blow your mind. This actually ties directly to what I covered about Israel's prophetic timeline and end times acceleration. You can tap the card up here to see how temple building fits the bigger picture. Preparation number 3, priestly training program complete. Since 2009, descendants of the priestly tribe of Levi have been learning rituals their ancestors haven't performed for 70 generations. In 2015, they completed the first authentic Passover offering reenactment in 2,000 years. Picture this moment: modern Jewish men restoring knowledge lost for 2,000 years, learning rituals their great-grandfathers could only dream of performing again. Preparation number 2, sacred vessels recreation. Over 60 vessels have been recreated according to biblical specifications. The golden menorah alone cost $2 million, 95 pounds of pure gold, not replicas for display, but functional vessels designed for actual temple service. Why spend millions creating functional temple items if there's no plan to use them? Throughout Scripture, God follows the same pattern: long preparation, then sudden fulfillment. Consider Noah's Ark. God gave Noah decades to build while the world mocked. Then the flood came suddenly, and only the prepared survived. Look at Israel's Exodus. 400 years of slavery, then Moses arrived, and within months, the nation was free. Remember Christ's first coming? Centuries of prophecy, then in the fullness of time, the Messiah appeared exactly as Daniel's 70 weeks predicted. The temple follows the identical pattern. After 2,000 years of exile, preparation begins. After decades of quiet work, everything suddenly aligns. But here's what makes current temple preparations different from all previous prophetic fulfillments. This one points to the end of the age itself. The first temple represented God's initial dwelling with his people. The second temple was where Christ ministered and fulfilled the law. The third temple will be where the final confrontation between good and evil plays out. Even the preparation timeline matches prophetic patterns. From God's command to Moses for the tabernacle to completion, 1 year. From David's plans to Solomon's completion, 7 years. From Zerubbabel's start to dedication, 20 years. Third Temple preparations have taken 37 years so far, but the acceleration suggests construction could be remarkably swift. When God's timing is ready, human obstacles disappear. Pharaoh's resistance crumbled, Babylon fell, Rome's power ended. But preparation number 1 will explain why intelligence agencies worldwide are monitoring this story. Preparation number 1. The perfect red heifers. In September 2022, 5 red heifers were flown from Texas to Israel, the first qualified red heifers in 2,000 years. They've been examined for blemishes, checked for even 2 non-red hairs that would disqualify them, and declared perfect according to biblical law. Why is this preparation number 1? Because without the red heifer sacrifice, none of the other preparations matter. Numbers 19 declares that only red heifer ashes can purify priests before temple worship begins. Without purification, the temple cannot function. The Temple Institute has announced their intention to perform the ceremony before Passover this year, not next year, months away. Right now, 5 major obstacles block temple construction. But here's the prophetic truth. Every obstacle is positioning for sudden removal. The Dome of the Rock sits on the temple location. Any removal attempt would spark global warfare. Yet Zechariah 12:3 prophesies Jerusalem becoming a burdensome stone for all people. Political leaders avoid the temple topic because it threatens stability. But Daniel 2:21 declares that God removes kings and raises up kings. Many Jews disagree about rebuilding timing, but Ezekiel 37 prophesies that God will unite the divided house of Israel. Muslims view temple rebuilding as an existential threat, but Isaiah 19:23-25 prophesies that former enemies will worship together. Satan knows temple reconstruction accelerates prophecy toward his defeat, but Revelation 12:12 warns his time is short. Recent developments prove dramatic change is possible. The Abraham Accords normalized Arab-Israeli relations overnight. Iran's nuclear program was crippled decisively. Hamas and Hezbollah have been systematically dismantled. What seemed impossible regarding the temple could happen just as quickly. The question isn't whether these obstacles will be removed. The question is, what event will trigger their sudden collapse? Jesus commanded us to watch for signs of his return. The third temple isn't just a sign, it's the sign that positions everything else. Matthew 24:15-16 warns, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. You cannot have an abomination of desolation without a temple for it to stand in. Every preparation we've just witnessed is setting the stage for that final prophetic moment. But here's the hope. Before the Antichrist corrupts the temple, it will serve its intended purpose, worship of the true God. Before the abomination occurs, genuine revival may sweep through Israel. Romans 11:25-26 promises, blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles has come in, and so all Israel will be saved. The third temple may catalyze that national awakening. Don't miss the timing. We're living in the generation that witnessed Israel's rebirth, 1948, Jerusalem's restoration, 1967, and now temple preparations, 2025. This convergence hasn't happened in 2,000 years. The red heifers are aging, the political window is opening, the trained priests are ready, the vessels are complete. When temple construction begins, prophetic events will accelerate dramatically. The 7-year period that follows will reshape world history. Luke 21:28 gives us the proper response. When these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. The temple's restoration means Christ's return is imminent. Are you watching? Are you ready? 2 Thessalonians 2:3 declares that the man of sin will be revealed and take his seat in God's temple. That temple is being prepared right now. Every red heifer examined, every sacred vessel crafted, every priest trained, every stone collected, all of it fulfills biblical requirements for temple service that haven't been relevant for 2,000 years. The third temple isn't coming someday. It's coming soon. 10 preparations are complete. The obstacles are positioning for removal. The prophetic timeline is accelerating toward its climax. Revelation 16:15 declares, "Behold, I am coming as a thief. Blessed is he who watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame." Don't let this generation miss what heaven is orchestrating. The countdown has begun, and everything needed for that temple to rise is ready right now. If this countdown opened your eyes to what's happening prophetically, hit subscribe right here. And I've created a complete playlist on Third Temple prophecy and end-time signs. Your next revelation about God's perfect timing is waiting right there.